The James S. Brady press briefing room buzzed with anticipation. The air was thick with a sense of expectancy, as if everyone present knew that something significant was about to unfold. The walls, lined with history, seemed to absorb the nervous energy of the crowd. Journalists filled every seat, laptops open, eyes fixed on the podium. Some whispered quietly to colleagues, others typed furiously, preparing for the barrage of questions that would soon follow. The hum of conversation was punctuated by the occasional click of a camera shutter. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt entered, exuding confidence, binder in hand. Her steps were measured, her expression calm but determined. She knew the weight of the moment, and the eyes of the nation were upon her. The room fell silent as she prepared to deliver the administration's message. Even the most seasoned reporters seemed to hold their breath, waiting for the first words to break the tension. Leavitt began with routine announcements, painting a glowing picture of President Trump's leadership. She spoke of recent achievements, policy successes, and the administration's unwavering commitment to the American people. The press listened, but their real questions simmered beneath the surface. Each reporter was keenly aware that the day's headlines could hinge on a single answer, a single misstep, or a moment of candor. Today, the stakes felt unusually high. Rumors had swirled all morning about a possible policy shift, and the press corps was determined to get answers. This daily ritual is more than theater. It's a test of truth and accountability. The press briefing is where the government's narrative is put under the microscope, and every claim is subject to challenge. The press is there to cut through spin, to ask what citizens would ask if they could. They are the public's voice in the room, holding power to account on behalf of millions. Leavitt's job: defend the administration. She must stay composed, answer tough questions, and keep the message on track no matter how heated the exchange becomes. The press corps' job: demand facts, not talking points. They push for clarity, for transparency, and for the truth behind the headlines. The calm in the room was deceptive. Everyone sensed a storm was coming. The tension was almost palpable, as if the entire room was bracing for impact. The government's narrative was about to be challenged. Reporters shuffled their notes, ready to press for answers on the issues that mattered most. The press briefing is where power meets scrutiny. It's a daily collision of agendas, where the truth is often hard-won. Every word from that podium matters. A single phrase can spark headlines, shape public opinion, or trigger a political firestorm. Today, Leavitt would be tested like never before. The questions would be sharper, the scrutiny more intense, and the consequences more far-reaching. The real questions were about to begin. In this room, the calm never lasts for long, and today, the storm was just moments away. Leavitt quickly pivoted to the administration's main message: efficiency. She stood at the podium, her tone confident, determined to sell the public on a vision of streamlined government. The word efficiency echoed through the room, a promise of less waste and more results. But, behind the polished delivery, there was a sense of urgency. A need to convince not just the press, but the American people, that these changes were for the greater good. She praised Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, as a bold move to cut waste. The administration touted DOGE as a revolutionary step, a partnership between innovation and governance. Musk's involvement was meant to signal a new era, one where Silicon Valley's disruptive spirit would finally fix Washington's old problems. Layoffs at agencies like Social Security and USAID were framed as victories for taxpayers. The administration claimed these cuts would free up billions, redirecting funds to where they were needed most. But the headlines told a different story, one of uncertainty, anxiety, and families suddenly facing unemployment. The narrative was clear: a leaner, stronger government, stripped of excess and focused on results. News anchors repeated the message, and official statements painted a picture of progress. But beneath the surface, doubts simmered. But the journalists knew the reality was messier. In hushed tones, they compared notes, questioning the numbers and the true impact of the cuts. Skepticism grew as details failed to materialize. Savings weren't documented outside White House press releases. Reporters scoured official paperwork searching for evidence of the promised billions. Instead, they found vague statements and missing data, raising more questions than answers. Court rulings had already called DOGE's actions likely unconstitutional, a fact Leavitt ignored. Legal experts warned of overreach, and lawsuits piled up in federal courts, threatening to unravel the entire initiative. The press was ready to challenge her story. Microphones were raised, questions sharpened, and the mood in the briefing room shifted from passive listening to active scrutiny. Real people were losing jobs, and vital services were in chaos. Lines grew longer at social service offices, and communities felt the impact as support systems faltered. The human cost of efficiency was becoming impossible to ignore. Levitt's claims of smooth efficiency rang hollow. The gap between the administration's promises and the lived reality of citizens was growing wider by the day. The gap between spin and reality was about to be exposed. As the press dug deeper, the administration's narrative faced its toughest test yet, and the truth behind Doge's reforms was on the verge of coming to light. The first question cut straight to the heart of Levitt's claims, setting the tone for what would become a tense and revealing press conference. The air was thick with anticipation as journalists, notebooks in hand, prepared to challenge the administration's narrative. Can you provide the specific savings from these cuts? How does laying off thousands help seniors who rely on Social Security? The question echoed through the room, demanding clarity and accountability. Levitt dodged, promising future reports and talking about modernization. She spoke in broad terms, offering reassurances without substance, sidestepping the specifics everyone wanted. Another reporter pressed. A judge ruled Doge's actions likely unconstitutional. How is this a success? The follow-up was sharper, more pointed, refusing to let the issue slide. Levitt deflected, attacking the previous administration instead of answering. She shifted blame, hoping to redirect the scrutiny, but the press wasn't buying it. She ignored the court ruling and the closure of Social Security offices, glossing over the real impact on vulnerable citizens. The silence on these points spoke volumes. The press grew more relentless, layering facts and follow-ups, each question built on the last, exposing inconsistencies and demanding real answers. Levitt's confidence faded, her answers became defensive. The pressure was mounting and her composure began to crack as the room sensed her uncertainty. She pivoted, but the journalists didn't let go. Their determination was palpable, their questions sharper, their tone more urgent. The administration's narrative was unraveling in real time. The carefully crafted message was slipping away, replaced by a sense of chaos and exposure. The press exposed the lack of evidence and the real-world harm. They brought forward documents, statistics, and personal stories, making the consequences impossible to ignore. Levitt's talking points were crumbling. Each attempt to regain control only highlighted the administration's lack of preparation and transparency. The room sensed the shift. This was no longer a controlled message. The balance of power had changed, and the administration was on the defensive. The truth was breaking through, piece by piece, as the press refused to let go. In that moment, it was clear, the unraveling had truly begun, and there would be no easy way back. The questions turned personal and pointed. How can Americans trust Doge when Elon Musk calls Social Security a Ponzi scheme? Leavitt tried to separate Musk's opinions from his official actions, but the room wasn't convinced. Another reporter pressed on ethics. Commerce Secretary Lutnick endorsed Tesla stock. Isn't that a conflict of interest? Levitt deflected, insisting the president had full confidence in his cabinet. She avoided specifics, returning to economic talking points. The press wasn't distracted, they pressed harder. Each question revealed more cracks in the administration's story. The pattern of ethical lapses and policy failures became clear. The press was relentless, refusing to accept spin. As pressure mounted, Levitt's tactics became obvious. She deflected, attacked questioners, and pivoted to old grievances. When asked about Doge's constitutionality, she blamed the previous administration. When pressed on economic fallout, she attacked the credibility of the reporters. "I'll have to get back to you on that," became her refrain for tough questions. She repeated talking points, raising her voice to drown out follow-ups. The press saw through the filibuster. Levitt was running out the clock, not providing answers. The deflection dance was in full swing. The room grew more frustrated. Accountability was slipping away. The atmosphere thickened with frustration. Journalists exchanged glances, documenting every evasion. Levitt's composure cracked, her grip on the podium tightened. Reporters leaned in, voices rising, demanding real answers. The usual decorum broke down. Questions overlapped, urgency mounting. "Can you just give a yes or no?" one called out. The press secretary had lost control. The briefing devolved into a chaotic struggle for truth. This tension wasn't just drama, it was democracy in action. The press refused to accept spin. The fight for real answers was on full display. The truth was being demanded, not given. The real test wasn't the first question, but the follow-up. Each layer of questioning peeled back the administration's narrative. When Levitt dodged, reporters pressed with facts and specifics. Real-time fact-checking exposed the gaps in her story. The press corps worked together, building a case in real time. They weren't passive. They were active seekers of truth. Preparation and research fueled every follow-up. The briefing became a public examination, not a scripted event. The power of the follow-up held the administration accountable. The truth was forced into the open. A press briefing is more than theater, it's a test of government credibility. Words from that podium shape public trust. When those words are evasive or false, trust erodes. The struggle for answers on Doge revealed a hollow narrative. Without a persistent press, the truth would remain hidden. Accountability happens in these moments, when journalists refuse to let go. Real-time fact-checking is a check on power. It reminds officials they serve the people, not their own narrative. When the press secretary deflects endlessly, it's a warning. Look deeper. Democracy depends on truth, even when it's messy. That tension in the briefing room is proof democracy is still alive.